The night of the paranormal dogs. Last July, I decided to visit West Virginia, the birthplace of my father's family. Living in New York City, I had never ventured to that state despite traveling extensively across the United States. I recently discovered that my grandmother's sister, Aunt Eliza, was still alive and living near a small town called Buckhannon. I made up my mind to visit her, intending to do for her what I could never do for my grandparents and father, who had all passed away when I was young. When I arrived at the small bus station, the intense heat typical of West Virginia compelled me to take off my long-sleeved shirt. I took a taxi straight to the Airbnb I had rented, a simple and somewhat run-down place. I had the itinerary planned out. In the morning, I would visit my great-aunt, bring her a gift, and offer my assistance. That morning, I took a taxi to her house at the edge of town. I arranged for the taxi driver to return in the afternoon. Aunt Eliza greeted me warmly, making me feel like a beloved grandchild. She had prepared a sizable breakfast and invited her closest friends to meet me. Her humble home was meticulously maintained, filled with plants and the scent of flowers and fresh herbs. When I offered to help improve her house, she declined, insisting she needed nothing and had little time left in this world. Throughout our conversation, she mentioned many needy people in the area, several of whom were among the friends she had invited for breakfast. I spent the afternoon listening to stories about my grandparents and father while people occasionally came by seeking something, which my great-aunt provided from her garden. As the sun began to set, people hurriedly entered their homes before nightfall. I told my great-aunt it was time for me to leave, but she insisted I stay, saying it was too late. I chose not to argue, enjoying the visit. As I entered the house, I realized there was an eerie silence outside. No cars, no animals, no people, just an unsettling silence. Aunt Eliza shut the windows tightly and turned on a small fan, reassuring me that the coolness of the night would soon set in. As the night wore on, I tried to sleep but was kept awake by work messages on my phone. Suddenly, I heard distant voices growing closer, until they seemed to be right outside the door. Quietly, I got up and peeked through the window, moving the curtain cautiously to see who was outside. What I saw was deeply disturbing. Two large dogs, with heads as big as Great Danes, were sitting in the chairs on the porch as if they were human. Their bodies were incredibly muscular, and both were staring directly at me. Panicked, I closed the curtain quickly. When I peeked again, I saw their silhouettes disappearing into the darkness. Frightened, I must have blacked out. I woke up on the couch to Aunt Eliza making breakfast. I didn't mention what I saw, and she made no inquiries either. We said our goodbyes with promises of my return, and I asked for a list of ways I could help the community as a thank you to her and a tribute to the place where my family had its roots. Unfortunately, in November, I received news that Aunt Eliza had passed away, and her old boxer dog died the night after. The other two dogs were adopted by a family living on the same street. I plan to return soon to fulfill the promise I made, but I will make sure to leave before nightfall. I can't bear the thought of experiencing another encounter with whatever was outside that night.